I know exactly the day I opened my mouth to sing. It was a Sunday, all the relatives over at the house. It was an old Italian song. And I didn't know what the hell the words were. I was like 6, 7 years old. It was, "E combare." All of a sudden, I just started singing along with it. It just seemed natural. For some reason, it was effortless for me. I never had a pitch problem. I could just sing.
Please welcome Frank Stallone.
Frank Stallone.
Frank Stallone.
Frank Stallone. Frank Stallone.
Frank Stallone. Frank Stallone.
In his world and his talent, he's, every bit as good as I am at what I try to do.
He's a five-tool guy. He can sing, he can act, he can perform, he can write, and he can fight like a son of a bitch.
When you watch Frank Stallone perform, he fulfills everything. It's just talent, man. It's just pure talent.
He sings his ass off. Always did.
He likes to talk a lot.
He can tell.
He can tell a story and he'll just capture you. He's just wonderful.
It's a combination of electric magnetism coupled with this incredible humility. It's just a rare cocktail. It's what I respect most about him.
Frank has style and Frank has endurance.
He's very driven, he's talented, and he's also a sweetheart of a guy. He's a winner.
He's an electric sort of guy and funny.
He's entertaining. He's got a heart of gold. There's never a dull moment with Frank.
He's got a big heart. That's what people don't see. It's that big.
He's a force. He's the real deal.
There's so much more to him than meets the eye. I mean, everybody knows, yeah, he did a little doo-wop thing in the first Rocky film, and they think, oh, that's cute. Sylvester had his brother sing a little thing at the beginning. And then you dig deeper and you find out, wow, this guy's a tremendous musical artist in his own right.
He was into music 24 hours a day and knew that was his calling. He never quit.
These were actually, these were a gift to me. These were Frank Sinatra's cufflinks. Maybe that'll bring me a bit of good luck. See you in the movies.
Welcome back to the stage, Frank Stallone.
I grew up in a kind of a strange environment. My father was from Italy, and my mother is a WASP, and she was born in Washington, D.C. So I didn't really grow up in what you would call a musical household. My father was a hairdresser. My mother worked in the same business, and it was a very tumultuous house. It was not a happy household.
I remember once I went to Bloomingdale's. He was about 5 years old, and he's so quiet. He said to Frankie, just sit here, don't move. He would not move until he gave him a command to move. When I got home, I realized I didn't have him. He was still sitting on the bench in Bloomingdale's. I went back to the store in New York to pick him up. That's how well-mannered he was.
He was a good baby. Frankie actually was putty in your hand. He was a beautiful little baby and very good. Growing up, he was just a normal child, but he developed a passion, and I mean really a passion, for music.
I remember to this day seeing Elvis Presley. All of a sudden, this wild man comes on. 6 years old, I'm going, oh yeah, forget Acon Body, that bullshit, that's over. This is it, right here. The hair, the look, just everything about him. And that was it, I was hooked. When my parents got divorced, I moved from Maryland to Philadelphia, which was like night and day. But then the doo-wop thing was always around, like the Platters, the Silhouettes. That was like street corner, ba-ba-ba-da. So I got into that. My mother had left, she disappeared, and she came around Christmas time, and I saw these two like ukuleles. I know my brother has no musical talent, so I guess they're not both for me, but he ended up breaking it over my head. That was the beginning and the end of like the Italian version of the Everly Brothers. Because my brother, as talented as he is, just has no musical talent. They tried, bought him a trumpet, he hammered the mouthpiece in, but it just wasn't his bag. And he didn't know what his bag was until 20 years later, so he was just kind of a delinquent.
I would torture Frank. Everything from shooting arrows at him and trying to put him in a barrel and roll him down a hill while heaving rocks onto a freeway under construction. His fingers almost got cut off in a cement mixer. We got into a fight over a drumstick, and I threw it at him, and it sort of stuck in his head. And he's still alive, which goes to show you he's not normal. He has a primitive Neanderthal type skull. He's eating a bowl of ice cream. He goes, "Don't touch my ice cream." And he throws the ice cream in my face. I turn around, I hit him, and I shatter my hand. This is the way we've always conducted our business. Me attacking my brother and then blaming him. So it's consistent. There's something nice about consistency.
So then off to military school. I just got wind of the Beatles. I don't want to go to military school and get a buzz haircut. I can't do this anymore. I just don't want to do it because now your hormones are kind of changing. The Beatles, the Stones, all this stuff is happening and I'm wearing a buzz cut. I look like a total jerk off. I don't fit in at all. So I left, I went to public school. I wasn't dumb, I was very smart, but I couldn't apply myself. Now you would call that ADD, but then you just called it stupid. I think I got 1 A in 12 years of school. I flunked music all 4 years, barely got out of high school.
Frankie and I met in September of 1961. I had a set of drums, but most of us, we were just doing something that was part of a trend. For Frankie, it was a drive. He can't stop himself. I felt like a separation emotionally, like he was moving away. You know, he was very serious about that, and I couldn't possibly get serious at that age.
I remember I worked all summer for $150, and my stepfather said, "Well, if you work and buy your own guitar." I said, "Okay, great." I went to 8th Street Music and I bought this bass. And he goes, "Oh, I didn't tell you you could buy that." And he took it away from me. I didn't even get a chance to play it. It was so devastating to me because I was so proud because I worked for it, and he just put it away in the closet. He goes, "Don't you ever touch that again." I said, "You said if I worked all summer I could have it." I couldn't wait when he left town. Of course, I practiced in the front room with my band and stuff like that. But then I realized I sucked at bass.
Well, he didn't like his stepfather for the simple reason stepfather's pretty organized and very neat and clean. He would insist Frankie get a haircut as soon as he come home. Well, that's the worst thing you could say to a musician. So they didn't get along well at all. Got along very well with his father. His father lived in Florida or Washington, D.C. at the time. I don't know, both places. And he got along well with his father.
We were getting hit in the 60s. Every day there was a new British invasion group, the Dave Clark Five, the Kinks, the Who. It was so exciting. I mean, it was a blitzkrieg of British groups. Everyone thought you were English if you had long hair. You know, these guys had Philly accents. "Hello, how you doing there?" Say, "Oh, God almighty," you know. But girls thought you were British. We were as British as, you know, whatever. So what's the next thing? Let's straighten Frank's hair. To watch a guy iron his own hair is ridiculous. It doesn't work. I was burning my scalp. I looked like an O-Cedar mop, just like a roof. It was horrible. So then I figured it out. I washed my hair, it'd be wet. I put like dippity-doo in it, and I put a hairnet on and sit under a hairdryer, and they come out beautifully straight. 2 seconds on the stage, sweat, and it all. I turned professional in 1965. The guy next door said, "Hey, I'm having a party." So we set our stuff up on the lawn and we played. I think they gave us $5 like for the band. And I said, "Well, I'm professional. I'm getting paid." This was my first group, the American Tragedy.
Frank is a natural born entertainer. His singing ability and his delivery, his performance was unbelievable.
There was a big advertisement for a thing called the Philadelphia Battle of the Bands, which was all throughout Philadelphia. I heard numbers like 300 bands started or something, and the competition was fierce, but we came in second of all the bands. And that was a lot of acknowledgement. It was a lot of fun.
My brother managed me for 1 day with the American Tragedy. We went to see a group called the Soul-tastics. And so I go, "Yeah, that's what you guys should be doing." We're kids, we couldn't even drive yet. So my brother's funny, man, he just walks up and goes, "Hey, who's your manager?" So my brother contacts this guy, We auditioned and played. He goes, yeah, you guys are pretty good, but you got to get outfits. They're these big horse check pants with orange turtlenecks. But why would you buy a turtleneck sweater to play live with wool plaid pants? Oh my God, Mike!
Frankie was looking for something greater than the neighborhood. It was time for him to move on, time for him to get out there. But we were that stepping stone. We got him started, and I'm very proud of that. I think our group is proud of that. We all take pride in saying that, hey, we know Frank Stallone. We knew him back when no one knew how well he could sing but us. And he's proved it over and over again.
I meet my friend Alan Rosenblum. I didn't know he played guitar, and I was hearing, oh, Alan Rosenblum is sure play guitar. So Alan and I got together, we put the first Valentine together. Why I changed my name to Valentine? Because I had no money, I just bought this Western belt. It had the name Valentine carved back in Western letters. I said, well, shit, man, I want to wear this belt. So I'll change my name to Valentine. That belt was the only belt I owned. It had Valentine written on the back, and I didn't want to explain it to people.
Valentine was a very well-known downtown Philly band. We wrote all our own tunes. We had a nice repertory of originals. Frank had some, I had some, we wrote a couple together.
The bass player, he said, man, I know this guy, he's a great keyboard player, Daryl Hall. And it's this really handsome guy. He walks down the steps while we're rehearsing, sitting there, and he's listening to us. And he got a smile on his face. He goes, wow, man, he's a real nice guy. God, you guys sound great, man. And so he was playing in a successful bar band that worked all the time in the weekends, making money. We made nothing. So he had to kind of bow out, but he was very nice. And then they throw me out of my own group. For some reason, I was becoming unruly.
He would get into moods sometimes, and when he'd finally show up to rehearsal, you know, an hour late, we decided that Frank had to go. And even though I had been a schmuck, you know, when the band, you know, when we tossed him out of the band, he wouldn't let go. Our friendship meant something to him. If you have to have a friend like Frank Stallone.
And then you go through that bad time being a solo artist, playing for a whitefish. Seriously, that's like I got paid in like smoked fish one night because I was starved. I was suffering from severe panic attacks, and I didn't know what they were. I thought I was absolutely insane. I'm having like a nervous breakdown every 4 minutes. I'm talking to you, I'm going like, it was horrible.
I was working at a radio station, and he had a little demo, evidently, of his voice. We went into the recording room where the engineer was there, and he played it. He said, kid, let me tell you something. He said, don't waste your time, you'll never make it, you know. And I thought, damn, well.
My manager at that time, I got you a job in Portland, Maine. I go, what? You got a gig in Portland, Maine? We were playing like country bars in Morrisville, Pennsylvania, you know? And that group was called Bananas. We're driving a Ford Econoline van. We had no money. They spent the money on hashish. I said, what the hell are we gonna do? We're driving to Portland, Maine. He goes, hey, you won't even know it. We see the club, we're like, all right, man, cool, this is great. The guy goes, what are you talking about? We're Bananas. He goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. I said, are you serious? We just drove from Trenton, New Jersey to Portland, Maine, and there's no gig. It's the middle of the winter. Obviously, we were blitzed. And I think we stopped for like a hot dog. We cut it three-way. But anyway, we made it back. That group breaks up. Then I put together Valentine too. And we said, well, we got this guy, John Oates. I said, yeah, cool.
When I came to my first rehearsal with the band, I immediately knew Frank was the force in the band. It was his thing, you know. He had a lot of charisma, he had a lot of presence, and he had a really great voice. And he looked good, you know. He's always very concerned with how he presented himself, you know, in terms of how he dressed and how he looked. I think he had a very kind of professional approach to this kind of hippie band that we had. He was always like up to something. I remember one day he came in and he was wearing like pancake makeup. And I couldn't figure out why, because we were rehearsing in a church or something. It was very weird, but he had this thing, he had his kind of theatrical thing. He was always kind of performing. Frank was always kind of on. We had one big gig at the Electric Factory, which was the hot rock club in Philadelphia in the 60s. That was kind of our swan song. I think that was the big gig, and after that it was done. And that's when Daryl and I put our thing together.
I stayed with my brother in New York. We had like a shithole.
He crawls to the window and goes, you mind if I live here? It was $72 a month. And the room next to me was kind of abandoned.
And it was right next to my brother's, right the door. His wall was here, he was here, I was here. They were crap holes.
I said, well, why don't we just take a shovel and we tore a hole in the wall. He had a hole that he would come through this condemned apartment that he didn't belong in, and he'd sleep in my thing, go back and forth.
And I just would bullshit my way into stuff. But I was really innocent. I mean, I didn't do drugs. I was like a virgin. I didn't know anything. I think I got laid once in like 5 years, whatever. I was just focused into what I was doing. And the girls didn't want to go out there. I had no money. There was a place on 85th Street called Kenny's Castaways. I walk in and there's this guy on stage with a hat. It's the E Street Band. It's Bruce Springsteen doing Rosalita. And now I got to go on. It's like, you know, if you had a puppet act following the Beatles, and on those white-like kind of things with magic markers says, tonight, Bruce Springsteen and Valentine. God, if I had a picture of that. So that's when I went to Florida. I went to a place that was called the Feed Bag. That was the time when someone gave me PCP. And all of a sudden this hit me. I said, hey, how you doing, folks? I'm going like this, but now the neck is growing. So the neck looks like it's 20 feet long, so I'm going. And what happened, I just untuned the guitar so badly, but I couldn't reach the neck. And it took so long, that was the show. I never got a chance to sing. They said, thank you, Valentine, man. We appreciate it, brother. Right on. I thought, but I can tune it. They said, no, another day. The last thing I wanted to do was do anything that was mind expanding. You know, my mind was expanded enough. So I played in Florida for a while, and then I said, okay, I'm coming back to New York. I'm coming back strong with a vengeance. And the most incredible thing I ever did, I used someone else's voice to get a record deal. There was a song that my bass player, Jody, sang on. I go, God, this is really good. I went around to people, I said, yeah, man, what do you think? They go, wow, that's a great record. We should re-record that. But it's Jody singing, but I'm telling him it's me. Of course, that went nowhere. Jody goes, yeah, I'm in New York. Well, come over, man. I'm over to these girls' house. I said, why don't we just put a group together? We gotta forget this shit with these girls. So we're like drunk. The girls go, hey, we're gonna go out and get some food. We'll be back later. We ran out of the place, jumped into a cab. I said, we're going to Trenton. And I called my friend Bob Tangrea, because he was a great singer and guitar player. I said, I'll put a group together called Valentine. I'm gonna get the 3 best lead singers I know. We'll put together this group. So it'll be Jody, Bobby, and myself. Overnight. These girls are probably still sitting there with the groceries.
We formed Valentine, and we actually had a manager who was Robin Garb and Bill Ring. They were our managers. They had a company called Ascension Artists, and they signed us to a deal, and we started working at local clubs.
We played Kenny's Castaways, and my brother was there. It was like $250 to get in. We just carry some equipment. I said, yeah, they're with us, the roadies. It was $250. Yeah, it shows you how good he was doing. Now we're in New Jersey. We played this club 130 nights, and every Wednesday this place was packed into the street.
I went to see those guys a lot. To see them in Philadelphia. I went to see them in a place called Charlie's Uncle in Brunswick, and a couple places in New York, I believe, too. And it was always a lot of fun, always very exciting. I got called in one night as a sub. They were nice enough to give this young 18-year-old kid a chance to come up and play, and they would call me up and play every once in a while. And it was a big deal for me. I did. I got up and played a couple sets. We had a good time.
My manager says, we finally got your record deal on Polygram, and we're gonna be going out to California to record. Everyone in town is so excited. Valentine got signed. I get a phone call. Deal fell through. I go, excuse me? He goes, there's no deal. We're not going to California. I go, wait a second. Last night we had hundreds of people, Bon Voyage party with a cake. We canceled all our gigs. And you're telling me as I'm opening the door to go to the airport, the gig's off? That would have made most people just say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. But we didn't, we just got stronger and stronger. Then I get a call in 1975 from my brother. My brother had moved to California. He is starting a little movie called Rocky and says, I need a song. Why he called me? Because there was no budget. I remember just sitting there going, take it back, dun, 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 on my guitar, just figuring something out. And eventually I wrote the song. So I tell my group, I said, listen, my brother's doing this movie about boxing. So they said, I don't know if we want to play. We're making $140 that night. That's between 5 people. 5 people at $140 and the manager takes 20%. So take $28 off that. So it's $112 divided by 5. So it was a big night. It was like a bowling alley that had a stage. There's supposed to be hot chicks there. Get a call. It's like, yeah, we can pay you 140. I said, well, we're getting 140. I mean, he goes, no, each. We go, excuse me? That's like a month's wages for us. It was very cool. We all went down together in our van, got a little ripped, and we stood around the trash can singing Take You Back. They showed me at the hotel some trailers of what they'd shot. Really low budget. It was a cheap hotel. And I remember John Avildsen, the director, was there, and my brother, and a few other people. And they're looking at dailies. I said, man, this is really cool. There was a feeling I had about it. Even when they were shooting it on the street, there was a feeling I had about it. You know, it's a gut feel. I can't explain it because I hadn't seen the movie. But just the idea, it was just kind of cool. Just the vibe was going on. It was really cool.
When Rocky was being shot, I was more or less around the project and could see some of the assemblages. You know, they put stuff together. And not the timing, just assembled. And then I saw Take You Back, which was like, how did this get here? What is this? Man, that's really good. I like that. Oh, yeah. Sly's brother did that. I go, really? I didn't know that. And that was my introduction to Frank as a singer. Frank came along with all the talent that Sly had.
He knew those streets, and he did sing around barrels, and he did do a cappella. So he was extremely original and authentic for that part. And the attitude that you saw between us, like, hey, the bum from the dock, get a job, you bum. That's the way we are. We're just, you know, always ripping on one another.
Hey, the bum from the dock. Get a job, you bum.
There was a premiere in New York City at the theater where Sly was the head usher for years. And I have a photo. We're standing there in really cheesy polyester suits. I mean, we didn't have any money, but that photo is the last photo of him being unknown. From that day on, it was crazy.
That was the last vestiges of privacy ever, which is fine. I'm fine with it because, you know, obscure is one thing, but it's nice to be remembered for something. But my brother, we were, you know, together at that moment, so that's pretty seismic.
All of a sudden, overnight, everything is Rocky. This movie is getting heat.
When that whole effect happened, and all of a sudden we were the band singing that song in the street corner, our management was able to go into RCA Records and say, don't you want them to have an album deal? Because they're in what's looking to be like probably the best movies of the year. So we got an album deal.
The person who produced the album was Tony Camillo. He came up with an arrangement to do an orchestrated version of Take You Back. That's what we released as a single. And as soon as we released the album, the whole regime of RCA was cut. So the people who were A&R people who would be doing promotion weren't there anymore. So we were kind of like thrown under the rug. After Rocky was out, it kind of gave us a little impetus to get moving since we didn't have RCA behind us. So our management got us spots on the Mike Douglas show, the Jim Neighbors show. We also did Midnight Special, which was a big rock and roll show back then.
Dinah was the very first one. Sly introduced us as his favorite band. I wonder if that's still the case.
Here they are at making their, I guess, television debut. My favorite group, Valentine.
Take you back, do, take you back, yeah.
Right after we play, I go over to the couch and everything went to, hey, Frank, group sounds great. So what's it like being Rocky's brother? So what's it like being in the shadow? So all this started, and I'd never had that before. They thought I was a nice, cute kid or something, but really they couldn't get him, so they get me, ask me about him. I was always thought of as Frank Stallone, musician. It was always Frank Stallone, that musician. So now it was Frank Stallone / Rocky's brother / something else, then musician.
He's gone through hell. I mean, they would put signs up, appearing tonight, Rocky's brother.
I recognized immediately that's real awkward for Frank. Especially as I've heard him say, to be the brother of a fictional character.
Rocky's brother. Oh man, come on. It's so degrading. Not about the movie, I love the movie. It's just that it's like I felt like a complete and absolute failure.
I would be bitter, but he is bitter, and I like that about him. He's very consistent.
I was never mad at my brother. I always loved what he did. I was kind of mad that I was being discounted and treated in a way that like I just picked up the guitar when Rocky came out, not knowing the years of driving through blizzards to go to gigs for no money and just learning the trade.
We knew where the cards were starting to go once we started to show up at gigs. And to highlight the connection, a club owner would say, Frank Stallone with Valentine.
The guys in the band weren't happy about it. It was a source of some frustration and friction. We went with it, and Frank became more featured, doing more lead vocals. The rest of the guys didn't get as much time featured with, in the band.
It was too tempting and too much of a thing to turn down, the notoriety, the success, but it created a problem within the band. And the band didn't blame Frank for that. Nobody was resentful of Frank because they recognized that Frank was in a bad situation that way.
I think it went to Frank's head a little bit. I don't know if he was a little hard to work with. Let's put it that way.
It was a very dismal time. Very dismal because this was kind of our shot. We lost our record deal. Nobody really wanted us. That was a tough pill to swallow. And then it just kind of deflated.
Frank can be moody. We would come to a gig and it was like, hey Frank, how you doing? It was like, he wouldn't even say anything. Yeah, we had some tense moments. It got a little out of hand, and I think maybe the competition with his brother maybe brought out some bad things. And I just didn't want to take it anymore, and I was a little fed up. I regret breaking up Valentine because I think we could have gotten past it. We were a really good band, we were really tight, and we were friends. I just couldn't take the moodiness anymore, and they tried to get me back to reform the band, and I just said no. So, but I do regret it.
It would be a nice thing to be able to put a Valentine reunion together. If we could make it happen, somehow bring Jody back, that would be the best.
Jody, our bass player, unfortunately just recently passed.
Amazing guy, amazing bass player. Him and I were very, very tight. We played a lot of gigs together.
He had a service in Pennsylvania. Frank had another commitment. I thought that would be the moment where we would reconnect.
I know that there was an issue that surfaced with Robin. Would it be nice for the three of us to be able to get together again? Absolutely, and I would hope we could bury whatever hatchet Frank feels needs to be buried.
We parted company. It wasn't on the best of terms, but I love the guy. I really miss him, and I miss his humor. I miss just being with him as a friend.
Man, I haven't seen these guitars in almost 40 years. This is kind of weird. I don't know how I'm gonna feel. But I know, like when Jody died, I didn't want to see these guitars from a guy that stood on my left side for almost off and on 20 some years, go to some like wedding band, you know? Oh my God. Wow. Look at this. Look at this, man. Look at this case. All the names on it, all our friends. Oh God, look at this. That's a 1963 Hofner Beetle bass. Wow, look at this. Man, this is the bass he used when we did our first album for RCA. This reminds me of, my youth. Oh my God. Hey, Bill, how you doing, man? Oh my God, look at this guy.
Are you crazy?
Hey, Robin. How you doing, man? I know the last time I saw you, these weren't in CD. So there you go. And this. Oh man. My God.
Jeez.
This has been a long time, man. This was the team. This is the team here. And we're gonna have a lot of fun, man, tonight.
This bass guitar belonged to one of my best friends who just died. I wanted to honor with him tonight, Hussein playing Jody's bass. I'll take you back. Take you back. Take you back.
One,
Take you back.
three.
Take you back. Well, I've been told by...
I think after I did Rocky, I might have had maybe $1,000 saved. And I was back to square one with nothing, no money. So I ended up playing these little clubs by myself with an acoustic guitar. I mean, motor-ins. And the worst thing is the science. Like in chalk, Frank Stallone, Rocky's brother, straight from Rocky. And I'm paying $30 a night. It wasn't so much being the folk singer, it was that thing like Rocky's brother. Well, what is he doing playing here? Shouldn't he be in California? Shouldn't he be driving a new car or a vet or something cool? No. And in between that, I came out and I sang in Paradise Alley, but also I did Rocky too.
Frank was working with his trio, and it was rather beautiful, sort of like a chorus of musicians that sort of sang the love song of Adrian and Rocky along the way. And it gave the piece a kind of tone, a fairy tale tone. And I would look over at Frank, and he was, first of all, he's very handsome and very gifted. And I would look over at him, and it was always a pure moment with Frank, because Frank clearly was a real musician.
There are two kinds of love that you ought to know. There are two kinds of love.
He fit the corner. He made that little song very warm, very great. It was wonderful. He contributes a lot, you know. He's good to have around.
Frank, unbeknownst to a lot of people, has a huge boxing background.
Frank just took to it and developed as a fighter. He had a good corner, had a terrific left hook. He was very faithful to his training, no smoking or drinking, and had several great amateur fights against some very, very tough competition.
When he was fighting also, he didn't have to wear headgear. And you know what? There is no difference between professional and amateur, only that the professionals get paid. You still get punched in the face a dozen times. You're still taking the abuse.
He was a contender. He's got the fighter's eye, and you only get that if you were a fighter, if you've been in that ring more than once. And he was in there quite a few times.
Frank is an extremely cerebral and intelligent man. I don't think there's any question you can throw at Frank Stallone about boxing that he can't answer. He's a plethora of knowledge. And what I love about being around Frank is, aside from the fact, and I love you, Frank, but he will never stop talking, but everything he talks about makes sense.
He's full of information. He's got a lot of stories to tell. And he's fun to listen to.
He has the best memory. Sometimes Sly and Frank get into battles, but I always believe Frank because he always comes up with the story that's correct. I'm going with Frank.
Frank, as a boxing historian, this man knows more than anybody. Plus, he's got total recall. I've got dementia, so I can't remember my losses, only my wins.
Frank had that knowledge, that savant, every detail. One argument ended, well, this guy did this, and then Frank goes, well, I have all his press clippings, I have his trunks, his robe, and his gun.
Frank's a very tough individual. I mean, he's a warrior in his own right. Even if it gets down to the fight he had with Geraldo Rivera on Howard Stern years ago that my brother, the legendary Michael Buffer, announced, they went in there and they slugged it out for those 3 2-minute rounds.
Back in 1992, I owned a boxing gym on 57th Street right here in Manhattan, just behind me. It was called the Broadcast Boxing Gym. And so I was talking about it on Howard Stern show, and he said, I'm going to promote a fight. You're going to be in this fight. So it turned out that he had Frank Stallone lined up. I mean, Frank Stallone, he's a younger, far better fighter than me. I mean, Frank was a semi-pro. I was just a flailer in my own gym. In the first round, he hit me with some of those shots. They felt like he was hitting me with a baseball bat. I remember a couple of times that I really was knocked out on my feet.
When you see the boxing match, it's actually a really good boxing match. These guys were really going at it. There's no losing. You can't lose. Because, you know, it's a name. It's a Stallone name. So he better be good in boxing. But he beat Geraldo. And to do that under pressure for a charity event shows you what kind of guy he is.
Frank Stallone, a real man, a real fighter, and a great guy.
was getting really depressed, and I had to get some psychotherapy. And my brother paid for it. He said, you know, he says, he's my only brother, he's just going through something. He knew I suffered from panic attacks. And he took care of it for me. And, you know, it helped. And they said, just come to California. I said, really? He goes, yeah, just come to California. I said, just like that? He goes, yeah. My hero was Harry Nilsson, the singer. Aerial Ballet, Pandemonium, Shadow Show, loved him. And Sly, when I moved to Bel Air, he goes, hey, you know this next door? I said, who's that? He goes, Harry Nilsson. I go, what? He ended up producing me. He never produced anybody for it, just me. So we're in the studio, and this is the who's who of recording, isn't there? I mean, it's Harry Nilsson producing, Van Dyke Parks, Klaus Werman, who played with the Beatles, Freddie Tackett, all the best musicians were there. And all of a sudden the talkback goes, John's dead. I said, John who? Lennon.
Former Beatle John Lennon is dead. Lennon died in a hospital shortly after being shot outside his New York apartment tonight.
Harry Nilsson was John's best friend, and they had had a falling out. Harry was just going to New York in about a week and a half to kind of reconcile their friendship. So this was really bad. I'm trying to do a record, you know, people are like crying, oh man, like blow coming out of their nose, and I didn't do that stuff. So I'm sitting there like, I'm there, oh my God, the Scotty Brothers are gonna kill me. You know, because I'm supposed to finish this record. The next day, we get called in the Scotty Brothers. We play what we have, and it was dead silence like this. Are you kidding me? It was unlistenable. And Harry's sitting there sweating with sunglasses on, like recovering from the night before. To be with Harry Nilsson when John Lennon was killed was really heavy. We were good friends, and when he passed, it was very, very sad. He abused himself, but he was a wonderful guy, just a great artist. I don't find out from my brother, but I find out that he's directing the sequel to Saturday Night Fever. And I'm like, whoa. I mean, you have to understand, Saturday Night Fever was the biggest musical in history as far as album sales. Huge. And a great movie, fantastic. There's no way I got a shot at this. Not even close. So I drive to Paramount. I think they didn't let me on the lot or something. My car was shitty. I don't know what it was. So I said, you know, I'm Frank Stallone, Sly's brother. Yeah, so what? I think I might have gone to a phone booth or called them, and they let me in. So anyway, I go in there and I said, Sly, man, do you think there's like a remote chance I could get like a song in the movie? Yeah, I don't think so. I said, okay, that's all I want to know. I said, but just like an instrumental. I'm figuring if I just get like a 15-second thing of, you know, like John going to the bathroom taking a whiz or something, you know, at least I get some royalties, I'll make some money. My brother plays me the Bee Gees' new songs. It's just kind of the acoustic guitar, real bare bones, and I'm there, oh man, I'm screwed, because they're great. I mean, Bee Gees are fantastic. So he patronized me, he says, oh, just write some stuff. Why don't you guys write some stuff? I said, all right, we'll write some stuff. And every few weeks, I would pull up to the studio with a cassette. All my songs are getting turned down. But I'm working, man. I have a train of consciousness, and I'm working my ass off. I get a call. Hey, brother, Sly. I said, okay, I know he wants something. He goes, yeah, remember those songs you wrote? I go, yeah, of course I do. I mean, the ones you turned down, of course I remember them. No, I forgot about them. I just put my heart and soul into like 12, 13 songs. He goes, yeah, we got a problem. Bee Gees walked off the movie. Something went down and they kind of walked off.
Only part of the soundtrack for Staying Alive was created by the Bee Gees, but originally, the brothers Gibb didn't even want to be involved in the sequel.
We thought that it's been done, and let's leave our music out of it this time, and you get somebody else to do it.
But after some heavy contract negotiations, the Bee Gees agreed to create part of the music for the movie.
At that time, they were musical gods. But they were coming up with okay songs, but they had done such an amazing job on the first one that the songs are not even as magnificent or as accomplished as they were in the first album.
So he goes, listen, bring those cassettes, you know, those songs. So we go, and John's renting a house out here, and we're having lunch, and they're talking, and you know, it's like Sly's talking to John, they're talking business at the table having lunch, and I'm kind of laughing to myself because it's so ridiculous. It's like Barbarino from Welcome Back, Kotter meets Rocky. I swear to God, Bee Gees walked over. Yeah, absolutely, we have a big problem. Bee Gees, yeah, he's really, yeah. John's got these big teeth, you know? And he's like, he's this smile, he's just like Barbarino. He puts the tape on. So John goes, well, who is that? So he goes, it's Frank. And John goes, like, Frank? He couldn't even imagine that came out of me. Like I was Fredo in Godfather 2. Hey, Mike, I'm your older brother. I can do things.
We ended up writing the majority of the songs. And, you know, I caught hell for it, but I said, hey, it sounds good to me, guys.
The opening to the movie, they put Far From Over.
This is the end. You made your choice and now my chance is over.
Every week or something, they start adding another song in. So by the end, there's like 9 songs in the movie. But there's some jealousy going on, you know, on the set because they think I'm getting, you know, favored attention.
How come he's staring at you like that?
Maybe in a way, but I worked my ass off on this. No one wrote these songs for me. I wrote them. Nobody sat in the studio with no air conditioning, sweating until the wee hours of the night to try to get everything right with these great musicians I was working with. And I was never so busy in my life. I never felt so good about, because I've spent so many years feeling so bad about myself. I never felt so good about myself. It was something I was born to do, you know, and I was able for once in my life to be able to show people what I could do. Because before it was always, you know, a struggle. And then when Rocky came out, it was Rocky's brother. So no one ever took me like kind of serious. I did. That was the greatest time, watching my music, watching like these choreographers choreographing dance to my music. So it was pretty awesome to be writing the songs and having like 150 dancing hot chicks on the set. That was like putting the fox in the hen house on that one. They were paying me $3,500, $4,000 for a song. I'd never seen this kind of money, never. Little did I know they were also keeping my publishing, which would have made me a multi-millionaire. But I'm not kicking, it was great. If it really wasn't for John and Sly, I wouldn't have gotten the songs in.
This is the end. You made your choice and now my chance is over. I thought I was in.
I had a date one night, and what comes on the radio? Far From Over. First time I ever heard it. I'm sitting with this gal who was a big shot in the music business. And she says, so are you ready? I go, what do you mean? That's a hit record. Are you ready? I said, I guess. I'll never forget at the premiere, I was like this big shot, man. I mean, you look at the end, it's Frank Stallone, Frank Stallone, Frank Stallone, Frank Stallone. Rocky was great because the whole thing was great and I was so happy for my brother and stuff. But this was for me. This is something that I did. This is the chance of a lifetime. I was nominated for a Grammy and Golden Globe for Best Soundtrack and for Best Song. I lost. I said, okay, fine. At least I'm nominated. I feel great. Are you kidding? Coming from playing like the Beef and Ale to be nominated for a Grammy and Golden Globe, I actually opened the Golden Globes. I performed. I was the first act. I get a call from my brother. That was the day they were announcing the Academy Award nominations. And you know, we break out the champagne, the nominations are coming in. And they said, Frank, it's your brother. I go, oh Christ, who died? You didn't get your nomination. I go, what? I didn't get my nomination? Are you kidding me? This is insane. And now I'm pissed because now I know that's bullshit. That's unfair because it was a #1 record. I'm above Thriller. I'm above Billy Joel's album. I'm above Synchronicity. Not for a long time, but one point I was there. Here's my first break and I got screwed. And then I realized that point, that's insider Hollywood bullshit. I wasn't expecting to win, but I would have loved to have that nomination. You gotta be thick-skinned, you gotta have determination, you have to be able to swallow it. You know, not that you have to take shit and eat shit, but you have to be able to say, you know what, okay, fuck them. So that Academy Award thing really ripped the heart at me. And I suffered with it for a while. But you gather yourself. And I gathered myself, I said, I'll be back, I'm not dead. I still, you know, as long as I can still play guitar and write a song, I'm in the game.
What's happening in your life now?
Well, it's good. Well, the record is doing well. I have a great band, and we're writing, and I'll be starting a solo album in about November, October.
I had a big year. There should be no problem getting an album deal. My manager, he was saying too, yeah, we need to do a solo album. Let's follow up with that. It just comes back with one deal. I said, that's it? In those days, everything was a 3-album deal. Yeah, shit. I said, well, whatever.
Back then, this is the 80s, different time. This is when albums sold. This better have a couple singles on it, go to radio and get in the top 20, or you're done. That would put a lot of pressure, I would think, on that one album. This thing's got to be a smash.
It was because of Russ Reagan we got on. Russ Reagan's like a legend in this business. You know, he's one of the great A&R guys.
I first met Frank in 1983 when I was working for Polygram Records. He had a few demos he'd made, and I listened to him and I said, "You're pretty good, kid." He said, "You've made superstars." He said, "Why don't you make me a star?" So I signed him to Polygram Records. You know, I signed Neil Diamond, he's a great writer. I signed Elton John, he's a great writer. Barry White, great writer. Alan Parsons, great writer. Brian Wilson, great writer. That's one of the things, by the way, that I liked about Frank, that he was a writer. That influenced me a lot on his signing to the Polygram Records. He did a great job. He was always wonderful to work with, had a great personality, very charismatic character, and hard not to like.
You know, I'm a young guy. You know, I'm on every TV show.
We've got more of music's best coming your way, including Frank Stallone.
Oh, darling, I wish you were lying when you said that you're leaving me, darling.
We did David Letterman, which I didn't get to sing on, which was weird.
That's all right. Just leave that alone. You all right?
I'm fine.
Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Congratulations on the success of the
picture,
album.
yeah.
And the picture. That's a good-looking
you.
picture.
I was on a date with some girl I met, and there's a giant picture of my album cover, like 10 feet by 10 feet on Tower Records on Sunset. Okay, the kid's in. The album didn't do well. Things just didn't work. You know, I mean, the album died. You know, I waited almost 20-some years to have my first solo album. It's like, wow, please don't make me a one-hit wonder. Oh, God. You know, I mean, I know it's easier than having a full career being a one-hit wonder, but I wanted to have a full career.
It takes a team to make a star. A star just doesn't happen by accident. He never had the team he should have had, even when he signed to me.
I just don't know if my management team was that involved or had the capability to move me.
Far From Over should have been played up much bigger than it was. You know, you get a Grammy nomination, that's incredible. They just never did the PR on Frank Stallone that he deserved and should have had.
I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be making records. I'm going to be writing with the greatest songwriters. I'm going to be doing what I was born to do. Did not turn out that way. Everything's going good, and then all of a sudden, I said, oh no, not again, not again. And then kind of come up a little bit, little good news, and then kind of even off, and then wham, goes down and stays down there for a long time.
After having a hit, you would think, you know, I'll have a few more, and it just didn't go that way for him. If you're doing it expecting you're going to have a worldwide smash hit or that you're even going to make any money in music, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Frank, I'm sure, knew what he was getting himself into. He just loved to play.
You got to learn your craft, and the only way you learn your craft is by making mistakes, and you correct those mistakes. And I learned it, but again, I guess I didn't learn enough. '80s and '90s was a tough time for me. Thank God for my songwriting. I was making residuals. You know, I wrote the theme to Rambo 2. I figured I'd get healthy, so I went to a detox place, not because I drank or did drugs, just to clear myself out. And at lunchtime, I walked past this place, and I had my lunch with me, and I saw a gun store. So I went downstairs to take a look, and the gun store owner looked a little dodgy. He kept pulling guns out of the case, showing people without breaking the gun. He pulls out the gun to show somebody, pulls the trigger, boom, right on my fingers, and the blood came up on my face, and I looked down. I was almost numbed. This guy had the nerve to look at me and say, "What happened?" I said, "Well, I think you shot me. I'm a musician. A guitar player needs 10 fingers. My fingers looked like a handful of exploded stogies. It was horrible. I mean, I could have been killed. I mean, if my hand wasn't there, it could have gone in my abdomen, could have shot me in the heart. I mean, it was literally 2.5 feet away with a .357 Magnum Colt Python. I've lost my record deal. I'm living in like a crappy apartment. From going from this high level, from staying alive to this, and then I get shot. You have to have thick skin and be bulletproof to be in the body of Frank Stallone, trust me. So then little gigs started dribbing and drabbing, but I started doing movies. When I came to California, I started working on Rocky III. My acting job consisted of being a stand-in for my brother. And then I did everything. I sang in the movie. I'm on the screen singing, pushing. And then I'm in a scene where my brother knocks me out in the ring. And then I'm in another scene where Mr. T knocks me out. So like, I'm basically a utility heavy bag that sings. Of course, there's a little bit of an acting thing in Staying Alive. Is Carl like, what do you all stay, pal?
Is everything all right?
Everything is fine. She's in good hands.
Hey, what are you, all state, pal?
Yeah, you want disability?
Look, I'll see you Wednesday, okay?
All right. Good night.
Good night.
After Staying Alive, then my manager Robin said, well, you should get into acting. But I was going to acting class. I wasn't bad. So the first movie I got was called The Pink Chiquitas.
All right, everybody down. Let's go.
So I'm in this movie, and all these really thespian theater type actors are there, and I'm just like this hack.
Hi, Tony Morita. Got a role.
So I did some good movies, but a lot of it was garbage. And it was all like gratuitous sex, which I never really got into the sex thing. You go, would you like to have sex with her? I'd rather shoot her. I did movies like Terror in Beverly Hills. And some of these have become like culty, weird movies. I know nothing about martial arts. So these guys are flying in the air, kicking, and then I stand and go, like I did it.
You're doing good, Billy. You keep it up. You'll be able to whip my butt.
I said, I can't be an action star. Look who my brother is. I mean, it'd be like a really bad version of an action star. I was being hired because they couldn't afford my brother. I was under no illusions. My acting career was like, whoa, we can't get Rocky. Let's get his brother for $20,000 instead of $20 million. Like I did a movie with Chris Mitchum. So Stallone, Mitchum, and almost microscopic Frank, Chris. So I was definitely no threat to Sylvester as far as my movie career going. I mean, I don't think I'm a bad actor. I think I could develop into a better actor.
Aye, Skipper.
He's absolutely natural and never self-conscious of any kind of comparison, considering the giant shadow his brother casts. And he always delivers. He's always very, very believable.
You know, we have a deal. I said, look, pal, I won't sing, which has been well documented. And he shouldn't act. But actually, he's a much better actor than I am a singer. He can act. When he does it, he's good. Like in Barfly, he was fantastic.
Hey, you with the filthy apron.
We're back in second suite.
I hear a voice down there, but I sure as hell don't see much. Seems like that beating I gave you last night must have rattled your bells, huh?
I felt Barfly was going to be my shot to prove that I could get deep into stuff, you know, because I had a lot of emotions going on, stuff like that.
You think that son of a bitch would learn by now to stop trying me? You are a genuine man.
He just balanced the tolerance, the intolerance of this character, and the humor was perfectly placed, pitched in that role. It was awesome.
Your credit's no good here. You gotta have the green.
Mickey's not an easy character, brilliant actor. Faye's not an easy character to work with, but a brilliant actress. So Frank had to hold his own, and he had to show his strength at the same time and not be pushed around, because either one of those actors can just move him around whenever they want.
I asked, who's gonna pay for the goddamn drink?
Acting is all about moments, and he had those moments, and I think that's what made a great performance. Not acting it, but knowing when to really put on the moment in front of a Mickey or in front of a Faye or in front of the director.
The movie didn't do well, but it got good reviews in Europe especially, so now it's like a cult classic. And you think I'd be working all the time, because I get all these young directors going, hey man, loved you in Barfly. I thought something good was gonna come from it, and it didn't.
There's a safe on the 7th floor. You take their thingy and you put it in this thingy.
Directions even your brother could understand.
Yeah, directions even I could understand. Shut up.
And then Hudson Hawk. That was going to be a big movie, man. It was a disaster.
People had asked us, what is it about? Is it a comedy? I said, well, if it is a comedy, I don't know that yet, but we'll find out soon.
Don't tell me a lot of horse shit. You want to open up a hardware store, go straight and sell spatulas.
Have you lovely ladies tried our house wine? I think you'll enjoy.
I thought, of course, that it was a kind of comedy that I had never done before, but I had the feeling that it was going to be something special and new. But as you probably know, it wasn't. It was a bomb. The critics hated it. It cost about $60 million.
You don't do that auction house job, I'm going to put you on trial. And I promise you, my friend, there'll be no bailiff. You understand? Why, you son of a bitch. Hey, Billy, just settle down. Shut up. Take your money and get out. Because I'm tired of listening to your mouth. Why, Aunt Bailey.
And then Tombstone. To me, a great Western. One of the great modern Westerns, I think.
Guns don't scare me. Without them guns, you ain't nothing but a skinny lunger.
People come up to you, hey man, you're it, Bailey. No one comes up and says, hey man, loved you in Terror in Beverly Hills. I don't get that. I loved you in Pink Chiquitas. I don't get that. I was supposed to do a movie with my brother. This agency, they came after me and said, Frank, I think we can do really big things with you. I signed with them Friday. That Monday, what comes across their desk? It's my brother. He's the star of the movie. And there's a part in the movie as his brother. These guys at the agency go, come on, just slam dunk. Frank just did Barfly, Tombstone, Sly's brother. It's not a huge role, but it's an important role, it's great. They call up the casting agent. We just signed Frank Stallone. All of a sudden, there's like silence on the other end. And this way hears, I don't see it. I never heard from the agency again. So they figured if we can't deliver Frank, playing Frank to his brother, it's a lost cause. I can't see it. I can't seem to get a record deal, no matter what. So I'm going to do my own record. I'm going to pay for it.
Strips my conscience bare, it's witchcraft.
So I do the, big band album because I figured no one else is doing a big band album. So who do I find? One of the greatest conductors ever, Sammy Nestico. One of the greats, Count Basie. He's up there with Nelson Riddle and Billy May. He's up there.
It's easy working with him because he's so open. What do you think about this idea? Oh yeah, that sounds good, Sammy. Let's use that. What a joy. I didn't get that with every record, but I got it with Frank.
Tony Bennett wrote the liner notes for the album. And Sammy Nestico, who had been nominated for a Grammy so many times, said to me it was one of the best albums he ever did. So he goes back to playing with Tommy Dorsey. That's how far back he goes. So for him to say that was pretty good.
Frank doesn't know this, but when I was working for Michael Bublé, David Foster has a studio in his first floor of his home. So my wife and I would go up there, talk with Michael and David Foster. And my wife says, you know what I saw on David Foster's desk? I saw this. So Frank, believe me, they were listening to us.
Again, no management, no support team, nothing. So that's like the story of my life. So it just goes nowhere.
I never could figure that out. What could have gone wrong?
I don't think the public just took him serious. Why, I don't know.
People are going to be thinking of Sylvester Stallone. I think that's the issue. You just think of him as soon as you see Frank. And I think that's what he is up against.
It's not easy having the name Stallone.
Because you live in the shadow, and every time you get a great job, people say you probably got that because of your brother. He didn't. He got this because of his talent.
He would have all that same talent and all that if his name was Joe Schmo. But it's not, it's Frank Stallone. So I think right from the beginning, it's almost like being set up. It's almost like you put yourself almost in the middle of a target. Like, okay, here I am, take your shot.
that I was sensitive being the sister of somebody who was very well known. We talked a lot about that, about how one designs a professional life given your sibling. Frank then had to make some big decisions. Should he change his name?
At one point, I know he wasn't completely serious, but I said, Frank, why did you change your name? He says, oh, why doesn't my brother change his name?
People may think, oh yeah, it's Frank Stallone. Oh, he's not a joke.
Finally, the votes are in, and Entertainment Weekly has chosen its funniest man alive. And who is the funniest man alive? You guessed it, Frank Stallone.
Maybe it was a little dark, a little bit harder to be him at that particular place and time. He finally came to terms with it. He found himself. I think when he found himself, I think it all just came together.
I doubt if they could live without each other. They have each other's back. If either one were in trouble, the other one would be there in a minute.
If there was a plane and we were going down and there was one parachute, guess who's not getting it?
No one owes me a living. Nobody. I chose this, or it chose me when I was a kid. And I've loved every minute of it. Yeah, do I get disgusted? Do I get pissed off? Yes, I do. I think I'm better now than I was then, all around with the music. But guess what? I cannot get a booking agent. And you see our shows, we sell out, we get standing ovations.
It's just good music and energy from him on stage. And the way he talks to the audience is also cool.
The crowd just loves him. And his stories on stage and his ability to sing all different genres of different kinds of music.
Frank is a very talented musician. I go to a lot of his performances. He works very hard on his singing. He has such a huge variety of voice and reach. He can do anything.
You can play the blues, you can play rock, you can play pop, you can play R&B. He did the big band thing. He's running the gamut in his career. He's having a good time for himself.
It's almost a variety show. He's kind of all over the place, but it seems to fit. He knows how to make it fit that set.
He's got Frank, he's got Tony Bennett, he's got Dean. He's got it down, and he's really good.
I'm from that era of phrasing, the whole discussion about phrasing. And he really understands the lyric when he sings it. I'm a big fan. He's got incredible pipes. Sinatra even sent him a lot of love after a gig. I mean, that ain't nothing. When the chairman of the board gives you a nod.
Anybody who ever sees his name on a marquee, whether it be a theater or whether it be whatever kind of venue, and you see Frank Stallone, go and see Frank. You'll become such a fan. He's wonderful.
He can play, but he can play electric too. Like,
He spent some time actually developing himself as a guitar player.
Really good rhythm player, and he'll whip out a lead here and there.
Frank is actually a very good and interesting guitar player. I mean, his chord playing and his rhythm is terrific. He plays a lot of different styles, too many styles, in my opinion, only because it's hard to pigeonhole him into one thing.
He can do a variety of things, which is good as an entertainer, but not good as a recording star. I wanted to clarify that. If you're going to become a recording star, stick to one genre of music. You try to be all things to all people, and you become nothing to nobody.
We had gone through the country playing outdoor festivals and clubs. The fans started to pile up, and the gigs started to happen, but they were kind of like, what is this, And, it took a little time. It was not easy. And then we had the opportunity to open for Don.
We opened for Don Rickles maybe 20 times.
Did you pass away? What am I talking to, a wall here? These are nice people. Look at the front. I'm working a state home, for Christ's sake. Look at this.
Don was a real gentleman. A lot of fun.
Frank is very gracious, and he went backstage with me to thank Mr. Rickles for the gig. And he said, Don, I just want to thank you in Rickles fashion. He says, shut up, Frank, you have the job.
Before you carry on.
constantly amazes me because I don't think he'll mind me saying he doesn't really read a lick of music. That's one big part of what I do. It's almost, there's a bit of an interpretation for him, if you like. But he's very innately musical. He's not kind of weighed down with the music theory side of things, so he does what he wants. Any kind of rehearsal or sound check, you don't want to run into him. He is grumpy. Way back when, he'd just kind of breeze in and everything would be taken care of, and now he's schlepping, he's got the guitar on the back. So yeah, he could be a little less grumpy before the show, but as soon as the lights come on, the people are in, it's business as usual.
Here we go. All right.
Now the fella you've been waiting for, the star of our show, Frank Stallone.
Hey.
He just knows how to communicate with people. It's not always PC, you know, that's part of his charm, I suppose.
He'll speak his opinion, whether he's in a room of people who completely think the opposite way. He doesn't have any fear when it comes to that.
He don't take no bullshit from nobody, and he'll tell you exactly what's on his mind, and that's what I love about him.
On the positive side, you have to admire someone that stands by what they think.
Frank is a guy who's remained true to his roots, and you couldn't corrupt that with all the money or fame, fortune, because that's part of his metal. It might bend here and there, but it never changes. He's a straight shooter.
Several years ago, I did a charity event called Songs of Love. It was a charity for terminally ill children. And I booked a bunch of acts, and Frank was the first person I asked, and he said yes immediately. And I got choked up introducing him because I said, this guy is such a great guy, a nice guy. And the first guy I asked to come on board, come here for free, do this for the kids, and Frank was there, like that. So that just shows the type of person he is, and I love him to death.
I may not admit this to you, but he has a very gentle, in a way, very precious side to him. And he's warm, and sometimes not warm. He's dramatic, and sometimes he's intensely vulnerable, and sometimes he's cynical. He's a man of emotions. That's what makes him so great on stage. But he's also extremely eccentric. I mean, this guy's never been married. He's consumed with his art, and he's consumed with information, and he's consumed with curiosity.
The question that a lot of people ask is, why hasn't Frank ever been married? An artist has to be in the state of inspiration. Frank stayed in a certain state. I don't ever see him really connecting in a part where he'd be away from his music. He could be away from acting, perhaps. He could be away from writing, but his music, that's the foundation of everything.
He is forever a bachelor. He does his thing if he's interested. When he's not interested, he does their inventory like nothing I've ever heard in my life. And he gets all the nice girls, all the beautiful, beautiful girls. And you know, when he falls in love, it's under the radar. Like you find out in these really peculiar ways that he's got like a girl, and then it's over.
What will Frank Stallone's legacy be? It's got to be his music. At what level he wants to do it, because he's got another 15 years in him, I swear. He's just on a tear now.
Whether you have success or you don't have success is kind of irrelevant. If you're getting to do what you claim to love to do, and you're doing it at a high level, I think you're a lucky guy.
Down the road, there's still something there for him that's going to lift him out of the shadow a little bit. Maybe a song, maybe another album, maybe a part in a movie. He might have a future because he's got a lot of life left in him.
Frank's a great songwriter, he's a great singer, but it's about material. It's about writing. It's about pouring it out. What Frank would be great at is to write something that embarrasses himself. I mean, something that reveals him. He's got to rip himself open and, oh, geez, I didn't know that was there. And if he does that, it'll be great.
He paid all those dues that we all pay to this day, and he never really got credit for it. There's a magnetism to him that I don't know that's been realized yet, but it will be. It will be.
I'd probably say 95% of the people that I grew up with that played music, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, they all quit. They all quit, they all got jobs, they got married, well, I need something more secure. And I just flew by the seat of my pants. You had to have a certain faith in yourself. Because I didn't know, I really wasn't interested in doing anything else. I took the worst job you could, show business. That's the most insecure job you could ever do.
God bless you. Good night. Thank you very much.
I always wonder, what has kept me in this game? But, you know, I just keep coming back to it. I love it.
Pump up the tricep, Frankie. You can do it. Perfect. Very nice. Look at this body. Unbelievable. Now, if you teach me how to sing, like I teach you about bodybuilding, I will be performing in Vegas. That's right. This is like a one-way street here.
Is he around? Well, get him in. I want to just talk to him to see if he's as goofy as I remember. Yo, Frank. Hey, what's up? All right. I was inviting you in here because no one asked you to sit down. But don't try to assume like my pose. We're
trying to do,
we're doing Joe Weider like.
Considering from where we came from and
Oh,
the family
man.
and the dysfunction, that we're even here and functioning.
Yeah.
And that he has like really well-adjusted children
Right.
is amazing. I'm not that well-adjusted, but
Mm.
again, but the thing is, it's really amazing when you think those
Yeah,
little
well,
boxing gloves have made this dynasty.
We actually should be like making lunch meat for a living somewhere, just like nothing.
Well, you
very.
did do that for a
I
while.
did actually.
You did work in the deli, actually. That's the.
And I got thrown out of that too. That's right. Keeping my thumb on the scale a little too much. But anyway, nice knowing you.
Nice knowing you.
Yeah, take care.
And thanks for the good times.